What's up, guys? Welcome to No One Talks. There's been some an update as far as the defensive coordinator search has gone. LSU's target Marcus Freeman has been hired by Notre Dame to become the next defensive coordinator. It was reported that Marcus Freeman, he interviewed with us, and it was looking like he was gonna be the next defensive coordinator for LSU. But he went home to talk it over with the wife, talk it over with Fickle, the head coach at Cincinnati. And, LSU was feeling pretty confident. There's a bunch of guys on Twitter saying how it's confirmed he's going to be the next defensive coordinator and, people in their fake sources, which I'll get to that later. But it was, people were saying it's confirmed he's going to be the next defensive coordinator. I mean, people also showed the picture of LSU, and LSU lined up against Missouri at the 1-yard line, and people kept memeing it about how LSU and Marcus Freeman were the 1-yard line away from landing him. So, yeah, he spurs LSU for Notre Dame. I thought it was a done deal. I thought we were going to get Marcus Freeman. I'm not going to lie to you. I was super excited when I saw that. People were tweeting about it, and it was almost a done deal. Just had to get the money worked out and stuff. But it was reported like 3 hours later that Notre Dame was going to land the guy, and that sucks because Notre Dame and LSU were going at it on Twitter right after it. But when Notre Dame officially tweeted it, I was like, no, like that's how you know it's a done deal. But apparently he wanted to stay in the Midwest. That's fine. His wife is very Catholic, and Notre Dame, that's their brand, their Catholic college and stuff. So you want to stay close to home. Baton Rouge is really far from. I believe he's from Ohio, or he's from Indiana. He's from that area. So it's a definitely a shorter drive to Notre Dame, South Bend than it would be from a plane flight down to Baton Rouge. So if it has to do with location, we can't really compete with that. He wants to stay in that area, which is totally fine. Like, I'm not gonna hate on the man for that. His wife didn't want him going down there. That's a business decision on their family standpoint. The guy's got 6 kids. I understand that. Maybe he didn't want to move his whole family down all the way to Baton Rouge just to be there for about a year or two, and then land a head coaching job somewhere, and then have to move somewhere. Like I get that. Like, that's fine, but he was definitely our number one target, and it sucks that we lose out on a guy like that. I was super excited to. If he were to become our defensive coordinator, like, that would have been the hire of the year probably in the SEC. He got Cincinnati ready to play, man. I think he took over when they were like the worst defense in the country, and then turned them into, if not probably top 5 defense this season. And I was watching a bunch of film on him. I was watching the Georgia game. I was watching the Houston game they played against him. And, he ran a lot of blitzes. He disguised a lot of coverages, corners coming off the edge. Like, it was pretty fun defense. And it was just cool to see. It would have been cool to see him with players of LSU's caliber. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he had a bunch of guys up in Cincinnati that, they're kind of undersized. Like, you could tell, like, watch a film, like, the defensive linemen, like, they're athletic. They're not, like, big. They're not going to be stopping the run, you know what I'm saying? But, like, guys like at LSU, we got those big boys, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're athletic. They can stop the run. Like, they're huge, and they fly around. And I think that would have been pretty fun and pretty cool to see if he were to be at LSU. But things just didn't work out. I assume Notre Dame's going to pay him more like that. Yesterday we actually paid Bo Pelini the $4 million for his buyout, so I understand. If it's a money thing and it's a location, like, we can't compete with that. Like, you can't really be upset. Like, he wanted to stay in the area. They're going to pay him more. And his wife said, like, hey, let's stay here. And, his wife, she's part of the decision too, which I understand. And I think it's a decent move by him, honestly. At Notre Dame, he's not going to lose too many football games. They got that easy schedule. They're probably going to be in the playoff next year, let's be honest. They're going to have that cakewalk schedule. He's going to be the defensive coordinator. He's going to get a lot of notoriety at Notre Dame. I mean, they have their own network. They have the NBC network, so he's going to be on primetime television all the time, so that's going to land him a gig. That's probably the move he made, was because He wants that next step at being a head coach, which I get that. That's what you want. You want to be the head coach. I mean, that is what it is. But Notre Dame's going to be a great stepping stone for him. I thought LSU, as far as like, you know, in the SEC compared to like Notre Dame, like I thought maybe the LSU move would have been a little better. But maybe I'm just a little biased saying that. But, you know, best of luck to him. Like I think Notre Dame got a great defensive coordinator in him. I think he's going to do really well there, actually. You know, the previous one they had, you know, I think he's a new head coach. I can't think of his name. I think it's Clark something. He's the next head coach at Vanderbilt. So, he landed that head coaching job. And I think Marcus Freeman is going to be in line to be a head coach here pretty soon, within a year, maybe even 2. But, yeah, I mean, what I'm most upset about is seeing stuff on Twitter with people saying, oh, it is per source. Nah, dude. That's so bad to do that. Like, you can't lead on, like, that's just bad for, like, your brand and yourself. Like, I'm seeing a bunch of people on Twitter, I'm not going to say any names, but, like, they were just tweeting, like, per my source. Like, what source do you have? Like, you're not no journalist. You're not nothing like, and I know, like, Ross Dellinger, he tweeted about how, like, do not read into anything like some random guy on Twitter says, because they don't have any sources. Like they're talking to their old buddies from college who, you know, maybe have saw them at a bar, but like they don't know anything. And so I guess that's something we have to. I mean, we learned that the hard way today. If we didn't learn that lesson already, but yeah, the fake sources stuff's got to go. Don't read into anything until it's confirmed. That's probably some of my biggest takeaway from this current, you know, Marcus Freeman situation. But let's talk about the positive and what's next for LSU. So I guess when I say positive, I mean, we're kind of down to, I mean, that was our number 1 option. I don't know if our number 2 option, I believe, was Barry Odom, but I don't think he's leaving Arkansas. He likes it out. He likes it in NWA, Northwest Arkansas. I thought he'd be our number 2, but I mean, who really knows at this point? I don't think he's leaving. David Pollack actually talked about how Ohio State should study the game plan that Barry Odom had against Alabama this season. He held Mac Jones to 200 yards. He held Devontae Smith to 3 catches, I think for like 28 yards. And his basic strategy was rush 3 and drop 8. And, like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, just rush 3, drop 8. You know, you're not going to get too much pass rush against the Alabama offensive line. And, you know, you're going to have to drop 8 against, you know, that receiving corps for Alabama. And, I mean, he had the most success with it. It's just Arkansas's offense is, you know, trash. And they also cannot recruit in the same breath as LSU. So maybe he would have been a phenomenal defensive coordinator at LSU. You know, I don't know if Barry Odom is still looking, but I think it's kind of late in his process as far as if we were to land him. I don't really think even we've had contact with him. But there's some other names, like there's Zach Arnett, the Mississippi State defensive coordinator. This is his first year at Mississippi State. He's a young guy. He's 34 years old. He came from San Diego State, and he had the number 1 defense 2 years ago. I don't think he's another guy. It's so uncommon for a guy just to like be a defensive coordinator in the SEC and then the next year like take over the same SEC defensive coordinator role but at a different school. Like that just doesn't really happen often. Like I don't expect, you know, Barry Odom or Zach Arnett to do that. But, you know, those are just some rumors floating around. The guy I wanted, but I don't. This is probably the most stretch of a coordinator is that Jim Leonard from University of Wisconsin. I mean, hey, Dave Aranda was from Wisconsin. I remember when we landed him. Oh my, that was such a great hire. I don't care what anyone says. Dave Aranda was a great hire for LSU. He literally was one of the reasons why we won the national championship. We had a great defense when he was here. I don't think he ever had a bad year as a defense coordinator. Yeah, last year wasn't probably his best, but we were still pretty damn good. Like, I'm not going to hate on that man. That man was a cerebral genius as far as running a defense. But Jim Leonard, man, he's a young guy too, but I think he's a guy who, I mean, he played in the NFL for a long time, but I think he's a guy who, he's probably going to want to be like the head coach of Wisconsin one day. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't really think he wants to leave that role. He kind of wants to wait for Paul Chris to move on or get fired or give him the reins to the program, which I think that's probably going to happen eventually. But shoot, man, I would love Jim Leonhard to be the defensive coordinator for LSU. I think I would open arms to him. I just don't think we'd pay him enough for him to leave, his alma mater, his dream school of Wisconsin. But he's definitely a top, him and Brent Venables are probably the best defensive coordinators in the country. Yeah, I know they got smoked by Ohio State, but, Ryan Day's a genius on the offense. But, Jim Leonhard's probably the top 2 defensive coordinator in the country, and that'd be like a dream hire for LSU, honestly. Another guy is Charlie Strong. He's currently at Alabama. He coached Florida. He knows the SEC. He coached at Texas as well. He's been a head coach at, I think, Louisville, Florida, South Florida. Yeah, he knows how to coach. He knows how to recruit pretty well. He'd be a guy, too, I think that LSU will maybe interview. I think he's got Bama ties, which I feel like LSU doesn't really hire guys who have Bama ties, so that'd be kind of an interesting look. Another guy is this. I've been seeing a lot of this Chris Richard. He's a coach for the Cowboys. He coached the secondary. He's a young guy, Chris Richards. He's got ties to Coach O. They were both at USC together, and they have the Pete Carroll background and whatnot. So maybe he's another guy. Coaches love that NFL background stuff. I think that's important. It's good for recruiting. And players love that as well. So, but I think it's kind of down to 2 options at this point. I think it's either Corey Raymond or Will Muschamp, to be honest with you. I mean, Will Muschamp's sitting on a lot of money right now from his buyout money from South Carolina. And I'd be shocked if it wasn't Will Muschamp, honestly. And, I know a lot of LSU fans just hate that hire and I'm not a big fan of it either because, last time LSU hired a national championship winning defensive coordinator was Bill Pelini, and that turned out to be an absolute disaster. So, maybe I don't know if Coach O does that again as far as, I'm going to hire a guy who's been here before, won us a championship. I don't think he's going to do that again because if he did that again, Coach O would seriously be in trouble with his job. He can't miss on this defensive coordinator hire. I mean, he really can't. Once I saw the news of Marcus Freeman, going to Notre Dame, I said, okay, Coach O is in trouble now. He has to hit on who it is. He really does. I think we might have to give it to Corey Raymond. I don't know if he wants that job because I know Texas is trying to get him away. Maybe he leaves LSU for Texas. Honestly, that's a possibility. They definitely got the money for that. Just Corey Raymond see maybe Coach O's on his way out. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what's going on in there, but I think it's down to Will Muschamp and Corey Raymond, man. I don't know what our options are at this point, and that's pretty bad and that's pretty tragic to say as at LSU, but it's not looking too good for Coach O and LSU football right now on the defensive side of the ball. I really I don't know who our top options would be, and I don't think there's a top option that I would be happy with. Derek Mason would be one I was meh about. He's probably our number 2 option, but he's going to Auburn, and maybe Kevin Steele's a guy you bring back. I don't know. He kind of snaked us, kind of. He was actually a guy who was a coordinator for us, then he went to Auburn the next year, so I really don't know. And I do not want Will Muschamp, but I think it's going to be looking like Will Muschamp. I hope Coach O doesn't make his same mistake twice, but Will Muschamp is a fiery guy. He can coach defense, but he wasn't really too good at coaching defense at South Carolina. Florida he was decent, but he was a head coach, so he had to know the offense, and his offenses were terrible there. But his defenses at Florida were pretty good because they could recruit at a higher level. And I don't know. I think that we're gonna have to go with Will Muschamp, but I would like the Corey Raymond hire. I think that's probably one that I would be most satisfied with. But I don't even know if I would use the word satisfied. I'd kind of just be okay, we got Corey Raymond for a year, but we're gonna be definitely looking for one next year. But I mean, hey. Coach at this point, Coach O's the seat's starting to get a little warm where he's sitting. You know what I'm saying? He just hired two offensive coordinators who weren't really big names, who people were kind of meh about. So we'll just have to see. But yeah, that's kind of my update for you guys. We got NFL playoffs going on today. Hopefully the Bears can beat the Saints. Probably not, but hey, I'm optimistic. Monday night, that game's gonna be wild. I got the Buckeyes beating Bama. I'm definitely saying that because I hate Alabama so much. I'm definitely gonna be biased against them. But I think that's going to be a fun game. I look forward to that matchup. Hopefully Justin Fields is healthy and he's slinging that ball around. They're running the ball against Alabama and whatnot, and they catch the dub. But thank you guys for listening, man. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys are all staying safe, doing well. I'm sure I'll have some audios coming out here pretty soon with more updates on the defensive coordinator situation. But thank you guys for listening. Love LSU. Take care. Bye.